Hello, friendly neighborhood nerds. If you want to hear interviews from industry pros, get first looks, and have access to endless comic content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell!
What's up, friendly neighborhood nerds? This is Judarad. I'm here with Robo Strange for another blistering, explosive, incendiary, diabolically delicious episode of The Kick Boost. Boost. Thank you. Today we have a very special guest. He writes a comic book called Seasons. Currently, the second volume is over halfway funded. What did you say today? You reached 4,000 of your 6,000 goal with
Yes,
like 17 days left.
Yeah, 66% funded so far.
66%. That's pretty cool. So, with the campaign ending on November 1st, welcome to the show, Nandor Schaefer. It's good to see you. Is everything okay?
Well,
You have to ask everybody that now. It's like, is everything okay?
right. I mean, yeah, and I'm doing fine, and I mean, most people in my close knit circle are doing fine. So that's what I really care about more than anyone. I mean, it's such a weird time. It's really crazy, and you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So there's always this unpredictability and this sense of uncertainty that kind of brings some anxiety. But I mean, you just got to push on through and keep going.
Okay, cool.
Right on.
We'll just dive right into Seasons. This is your first comic book, right? I'm assuming that you've published.
Well, yeah. So the first volume, Spring, was my first book, and then the second book I did through Kickstarter as well. It was called Lifeline, and it was this collaboration I did with 7 different artists from all around the world, and it got funded in 2018, and I got it like in stores and distributed last year. So yeah, this will be my third book.
Okay, awesome.
Radical.
Can you talk us a little bit through that production experience, especially the first one, right? So that's kind of an unknown. A lot of people are kind of scared to make that first jump.
Yeah. It was a long time coming. I started, developing the story when I was like 17, 18, and I'm 23 right now, and I was going through that process, kind of just learning how you make a comic graphic novel, and then my artist and I, when we got together and we really started getting a lot of progress made. We were trying to pitch it and show it to other publishers and things, but it just wasn't taking. So we went our own route, with self-publishing and through Kickstarter, and I actually showed it to. There's some really other great independent people, like Jason Brubaker and some other guys that kind of helped guide us in how we should go about doing it. And there's some books on self-publishing comics that I was kind of reading and working through. And so after the Kickstarter funded for the first volume, it was really exciting, but then you're like, okay, I have all this work ahead of me when it comes to fulfilling all of this and sending it out. And so it was definitely a learning curve. And I've made so many connections in the last, 3 to 4 years, and just talking to managers and bookstores and comic stores and like everyone locally in my area, and then also trying to get it in other shops around the U.S. And it's a lot of footwork. It is a lot of work, but it really pays off because once you can kind of get your foot in the door, you can have that connection forever, and then it just gets easier as you go.
Nice. So this is a collaboration between you and Anthony Gonzalez Clark. Do you two collaborate on story, or is it more of like you handle all the scripting, all the story, and he just kind of receives it and brings it to life?
Yeah, Anthony is my tool. No,
just
like no. I mean, it's in that way where I write the script and I have the story all mapped out, and we do collaborate, but like really on a page by page basis of when we do the storyboards and we're working together, if there's something visually that he thinks we should be showing, or something in an action sequence, or in any page where like he's like, okay, I think it should probably be paced this way. We collaborate in that way, and so we keep things spontaneous and organic. But for the most part, I have everything really laid out, and I like kind of make the character designs and the layouts for a lot of the pages, and we kind of go from there. I kind of like give us the framework and the blueprint, and then from there we work up and try to make it as interesting and visceral as we can.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. So you're reading this book, and some people like to listen to music while reading it. What is the soundtrack to this book?
Oh man, that's a great question. So at the time, I was listening to a lot of Radiohead, and I'd say like some like older Billy Joel from like his like first few albums. Like a song like Captain Jack is one I really like that reminds me of the story. And Blue October, a lot of Blue October. So I'd say like. And some Killers. I'm a big Killers fan, so like I'd say like kind of a mesh of all of those.
All right. So for season 2 of Seasons, volume 2 of Seasons, go ahead and tell our audience what they can expect from Summer. Why should they come back? What are you going to do differently? What's happening in the story?
Yeah. So volume 2, for those of the viewers who have read volume 1, or people that want to know, why continue it. And the reason why is the story is built around this 1-year journey for this young man, and the entire series is going to follow him through 1 year of his life. And the first volume ends on a really, really big cliffhanger for the character after he's gone through really this whole kind of process of self discovery and kind of learning a lot more about himself and who he really is. And so when we hit with Summer, when we kick off there, he's really like in this place of uncertainty where he knows where he's come from, and he's learning more about himself, but also it's like, okay, now you have to make that next step forward where you have to go, all right, so what is my next move? And so for him, the character Fletcher, that's really where he's kind of stuck in this kind of rock in a hard place of, how do you when you're in a place of really uncertainty, and how do you progress forward as a person? How do you become that better person that you see potential in yourself for and towards? And so in Summer, he's really facing that question, and each volume of Seasons kind of takes a different stab at different genres, or I'd say like explores different kind of avenues of genres. And so the first book was more of I'd say more ingrained in like a supernatural horror type feel. It was a lot darker. Volume 2 is going to be more of that kind of blockbuster superhero-esque style, I'd say. I framed it in where Spring took Fletcher kind of to like inner turmoil. Summer is all about outer antagonism and like everything coming at him where he has no control, and he has to face all of these really large and epic kind of characters that he has to fight and really deal with on a personal level, and they have their own personal demons they're dealing with. So like, sorry, I'm making this a long answer, but
no worries.
So the volume has these kind of physical manifestations of natural disasters, and each natural disaster, like there's a hurricane, large earthquakes, wildfire, they're all kind of personified by a certain character. and Fletcher has to fight these characters, and it's like nature itself is being dealt with this story. And so there's going to be these large scale, like, epic battle scenes, and these scenes that are just, very kind of superhero and almost maybe like a Shonen Jump type of anime style.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So in the first one, it seemed like it had like some of the, like, yourself, right, the shadowy part of who you are. It's the way it's kind of built seems to kind of lend itself to be successful on something like webtoons. Is that on purpose? Because I noticed when I was scrolling through on the preview you sent us, it flows really well in the top down kind of layout.
There's only like 2 double splash spreads that I in the first volume that I can recall. So it has like a very scrollable vibe for most of the pages.
Right. Actually, it was something that was kind of a natural fit, but it wasn't. Webtoons was something that I kind of discovered after I had written the first volume and we had gotten some of the art done for it. And after the book was published, we wanted to put it on there because we saw a really good opportunity to, put it in front of more people and also see how it would, really kind of relate to people on there and what kind of viewership we could get. So it really did like naturally fit there, but it wasn't something that I was thinking about as we were making it. I really prefer the physical comic, just the physical edition, and there's definitely some pages, that I feel like get kind of, aren't. It gets kind of lost in the webtoon format where you can't experience the same way that you would in a comic form.
Can you hold it? Do you have it in arm's reach, by the way?
Yeah, I do.
The first volume?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, let's see. Ooh. And that's no slip cover. That's just printed on the front.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. No, it's a matte cover.
Reminds me of how Ed Brubaker's been releasing graphic novels lately.
Yeah, exactly. And
Like
that's the style I like. And I didn't really want to do a dust cover because, I don't know, like, anytime I like taking books with me places, and that always seemed like kind of an issue where you'd have to leave it behind, and then it was just one less thing I didn't want, like, readers to worry about. But, like, there's some, I'll show real quick, like, there's a scene right here that's a splash page right here, and sorry if there's a glare, but there's a page turn where that's Fletcher, and then when you turn the page, it's his shadow self,
Right.
like right on the page turn. So like that you don't get like on Webtoon, that was made specifically for for the book. And then there's this really great 2-page spread that was always something really special to me when we did it. And there,
Nice.
it's there again. There's that parallel, and that was something we really wanted to, visually convey within that story. And so, and that was specific to that one. And I really want to write in the classic comic book format. So, because I want people to get the physical book because that's something I've always wanted.
Right on. So, this story, it's and I'm referring mostly to Volume 1 because that's the one that I've read. But,
Yeah.
This is a very deeply. It comes across as a very personal story. When we're first introduced to the main character, he's like very sad and obsessive, pathetic, weakling, kind of like just a pitiful creature.
Right.
Is that you? Is he you?
He's kind of like I wouldn't say he's me. It's more it's more of like what you're afraid to become, and what like something you don't want to be, and it's a really interesting, I think, character, and I think a lot of people can relate to that because I think a lot of people are a lot harder on themselves than they actually are, like actually presently. They're like, I haven't accomplished anything. I'm just, not like I'm an awful person. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I kind of wanted to personify that in a character, and so that way when people read it, they can be like, oh my gosh, this is exactly like what I've felt before. And of course I've had those feelings, and it's something that I wanted to explore. And for also from a story perspective, it was really important to have the character be in that pitiful, kind of pathetic state in the beginning, so that as you see him grow, you're like, oh my gosh, like you'll see so much growth. And like, so he really, you really need to like get that across with the first book. And you kind of see it with the first book, kind of him changing a little bit, or him at least kind of realizing some things about himself. And then when we go into volume 2, it's like, now that he realizes that, what do I do now, and how do I kind of get out of this funk or this state that I'm in? And I think a lot of people, it's so much easier to stay where you are and not change. And the whole series is about change. Like, that's why it's called Seasons, because life is perpetually putting you in situations, and you're really always in a state of change, whether you want to deny that or not. And it's something you kind of have to cope with and grip with as you get older too. And I think that's important to show. And the series really tries to, what I tried to do, and hopefully have done successfully by the time all 4 come out, is kind of take the fundamentals of life and really explore those to the best degree that I can.
So we're dealing with seasons, like, and I think it's a very appropriate overarching theme for the things that you're addressing here. But seasons are also very cyclical and take us back to where we started. Is
Right.
that gonna be explored in, I guess, your 4th volume?
Yeah, I will say time has a lot to do with volume 4. And so there's a lot of a lot of foreshadowing, and a lot of in the first volume, and then there'll be a lot of kind of like in hindsight with the last volume. And by the end, you'll feel like you could possibly reread it again and be like, oh, this is interesting. I always want people to be able to when they finish something, when they by the time they finish volume 4, they're going to want to read it again, and they're also going to want to kind of visit back and go, that's what that was about. Because there are some things in volume 1 that I know people won't get right off the bat, and that's because it's a larger story. And I'm really inspired by Jonathan Hickman and his work when it comes to his Fantastic Four and his New Avengers and Avengers runs, because
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing. I'm glad you agree. And like, those were really, really influential, because I think he's the best writer when it comes to taking you on a journey to where you actually feel like by the end everything pays off and you're not left hanging. You really feel like, whoa, like, I'm so glad I stuck with this, because
I had to read those. Had to read those twice to really.
Yeah. Right. Like, it's
Yeah.
even better the second time around too, because you're like, okay, this is where it's going, and you can tell that everything he writes, he puts so much care into. And it can be confusing, if someone picks up, an issue in the middle, like if someone were to,
You
pick
can't.
up,
You really,
yeah,
you
you
really
can't. Like,
that.
it's and something he always said that I agreed with was, well, yeah, like, if you're picking up issue 16, there's a reason why that's issue 16. It's like, if you want to, get to that, you have to go back. And I think people that read volume 2 of Seasons will definitely get like so much out of it, but you'll get so much more, if you read the first volume. And
even the shield stuff too, which kind of vaguely influences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Like, he
Yeah.
everything Hickman does, is like, he somehow puts every story he's ever written, like, in what he's currently doing. And like with X-Men right now, he's with the New Mutant stuff, he brought in Cannonball and, Smasher and Sunspot, and it's like, well, people that read Avengers will get a lot out of that compared to someone who's just, jumping on right now.
So this is a good segue to what comics are your favorite. You already kind of brought up all the Hickman Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to, any other notable mentions, I guess?
Yeah, so definitely Hickman. Of course, I'm a big fan. What really got me into comics that made me get them on a monthly basis is Brubaker and Epting's Captain America. Kind of like the death of Captain America storyline, and when Bucky took the mantle, that whole run to me is just like pretty much perfect. And I love Brubaker, Ed Brubaker, what he did with the way he wrote introspective thoughts and how the characters think. You see that a lot in Seasons. That's something that I don't know what it was, but like it just made me connect with the characters so much, and I loved how he did that. So big fan of that. I'm kind of looking on my bookshelves right now, but I really love a lot of Jeff Lemire. He's really great, and Black Hammer and his Moon Knight run he did with Greg Smallwood.
Really good.
Oh my gosh! Anything by him, I really try to keep up. Like Gideon Falls. I think that's ending soon, but that's been really good. And then, of course, Alan Moore stuff like his Swamp Thing, and of course Watchmen. V for Vendetta was amazing. So, but I'm trying to think if there's anyone more obscure that. Joshua Williamson, the stuff he's doing with Flash right now has been really amazing, and he's almost at 100 issues. So that's been great. And then one other plug here, Tom King's Mr. Miracle.
Nice.
I love Tom King's stuff. I actually this is a really cool story. I actually met Tom King at a convention, and we were talking for a little bit, and the first book of Seasons had just come out, and so I was like, hey man, like I really love your work, and I asked some writing questions and was kind of getting some guidance there and how I can kind of break in a little more and who I need to talk to, just kind of like picking his brain a little bit. And I was gonna give him my Seasons. I was like, here's this book that I made, and he was like, whoa, like first he was like, okay, how old are you? Because I was, just like 20, 21.
Right.
And he was like, he's like, how did you make this? Like this is insane. And then he was looking at it and he was like, dude, no, like I'm paying for this. So he gets out his wallet and, he pays me for the book, and he had me sign it for him. And it was such a great, encouraging experience. Like he's a great guy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So you seem like, even though you're young, you seem like you have a pretty old spirit. We were talking about music before we started recording. So if you had to guess, though, for other young people, this question here. What are kids reading these days? What do they want out of comic books, huh? Like, okay, that's a bit, but for real, what do kids want to see out of comics these days? And the reason why I ask you, just real quick, is a lot of people come on our show that have an idea of what how to make comics great again. But what we need to do in that realm, what do you think?
I think a lot of it's really interesting to me because kind of getting into this whole business. I've seen a lot of both sides where, you have the older people that are like, it's all about legacy. You just need to like be true to the history and be true to what has come before. And then I see these new readers that, they don't want to have to read so much, of the backstory and all of this, to like get it or to be a part of the community. And so like it's like I see both sides and I get where they're both coming from, but I think what you need most of all is, of course, a balance with that. But when I got into comics, like I started midway into Brubaker's Captain America run, and I think if you're like, that's the fun of being a comic fan, is like investing and like learning about everything you've missed. And like I always saw that as like a challenge and like a really fun thing to do, where it was like, like there'll be a reference in what you're reading, and you're like, oh, what's that from? And then, maybe you'll have that editorial note that'll say, oh, this was, in this issue here back then, and you're like, oh, I want to get that. So like I love treasure hunting, and I love like hunting for comics, and I've always found that to be something, like the beauty of it, and like going to different shops and trying to find that issue and trying to hunt for things. And so I do think that nowadays, I think they need to, I think publishers definitely need to respect and realize who their real fans are. The people that have grown up with these comics for so many years. The fans don't necessarily own the characters, but in a way, you're only gonna make those comics if they're selling. So you need to sell to I think the majority fan base, and I think that is a lot of the majority of people that want fresh stories and want to see these characters taking places they haven't been before, but don't crap on them. Like don't like take them out of the picture completely, or kind of wave them away, like, or write them out of character. And so in my opinion, in my experience, I think what they need to do is really explore new horizons with these characters, but remember where they've come from, and don't just like totally clean the slate. I mean, like with the New 52, for instance, I liked it when it launched, because I thought it was interesting, and like you have all that history already, and to enjoy. So it's not like you're losing anything, because all of that's always going to be there. And I thought it was a great way to bring in modern readers, and I know a lot of people that started getting the comics that way.
Oh yeah.
But I enjoyed Rebirth even more, because I was like, oh, now we're talking. Like, I mean, like bringing Wally West back and really acknowledging all the history. It felt like you were like coming home again, and I love that feeling. And comics have always been, a place to escape to, and a place that always felt like home. And I think that's what they need to give readers now.
It's a balancing act, man. There's so many different kinds of fans. Like,
yeah,
you're reading my mind. Like, I agree with what you're saying, but I'm also thinking, like, what if someone just wants to pick up a story and enjoy it? You know what I mean? And they're just, so I kind of see both sides. That I think that there should definitely be entry points, as they like to say in the business, jumping off points or whatever, launch point, whatever, relaunch. Like I definitely like that stuff, and that's what New 52 was. And you're right, dude. Fuck, tons of people became comic fans because of New 52, because it was accessible.
Yeah.
But going back to what you said about Hickman, there's something to be said about a story that develops over decades.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, so. I think that, and maybe that's really kind of the compromise, to where they need to have those books that are for the people that really want to invest, and then they need to have the limited series, or the 6 to 12.
There's no ceiling, man. There's comics. They can make unlimited amount of comics for everybody. You know what I mean? Every single need that a person has can be met by the industry. But I agree with you. Like, they definitely don't wave those things off, or definitely it should all remain as part of the larger comic canon. Question for you. Last question. What can we expect from you in the future? What is on the horizon for Nandor? And I know we already talked about your next, after this one, 2 more volumes of seasons, but what is going on with you beyond that?
Yeah, so definitely 2 more volumes of seasons, and beyond that, I have 2 other projects that actually 3 other projects that I've been working on. One will be announced at the end, actually, of this Kickstarter campaign. It's something that I'm excited to share with everyone, and that's going to be a limited issue series. And it's gonna. I'll say this: it's gonna be the most, I'd say, like, comic book thing I've ever done. Like more like in line of what I grew up with, and what kind of talking about history and legacy, kind of. But it's gonna be my own, original IP idea and everything. So that's going to be announced really soon, in the next 2 weeks, and then the other two, if not by the end of the year, early to like mid next year. So I have 3 other projects in the works right now. So besides seasons, I'll have those. So I'm really excited because I love branching out, and I love creating new content and more content for people, and I love kind of, for better word, stretching the writing skills, and like challenging myself, the most I can with writing different styles and different characters. So I'm really excited about that.
Awesome.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, NBs, that is Nandor Schaefer. Nandor, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a bit of your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
For those at home, make sure you go out and check in the description. We have the first thing on the Kickstarter, the Kick Boost. We have the link to the Kickstarter for the people we're interviewing. First thing in the description. Click it and go support brand new comics. Also, don't forget to wash your hands, wear your mask, stay socially distanced, and for the love of all that is holy, go out and fucking vote.
I don't know how to pantomime vote, but I think it looks like this.
Be free, follow our links, and watch our show because you want to and not because of the threats. Thank you for watching Judah, Robo, and Ree. We talk about comics, movies, and TV. Sometimes we have notable guests, and sometimes it's just us. But we're also cool.